Hi friends, this is Kushal from IISER Bhopal and today I am going to talk about genetic algorithms. So genetic algorithms are basically a class of algorithms used to solve optimization problems. So we will not get into the details of optimization, but just to give you a very basic example, suppose you have a function s of x which you want to minimize or maximize. What we know from calculus is that you need to take its derivative, equate that to 0, and then solve the resulting equation to get the value of x at which this function is minimized or maximized. This process is usually very easy to carry out. Now you may have a little more complex situation where instead of a function of one variable, you may have a function of two variables. In that case, you will have to do a partial derivative of this function s with respect to x and then with respect to y, equate both of them to 0 and then solve the resulting equations to get x and y at which the function is minimized or maximized. Similarly, you can have a function of many variables where you can have, let's say, x1, x2, x3 up to xn, and then in order to find the value for maxima or minima, you need to take partial derivatives with respect to each of the variables xi. So you will have n number of partial derivatives, and if you equate all of them to 0, you will have n equations which you need to then solve. So if you have a function of 1 or maybe 2 or even 3 variables, this is usually quite easy to do mathematically, analytically, without having to take recourse to very special kinds of algorithms. But if you have a function of many variables, then this process becomes very complex. And in some cases, you may have additional constraints to be satisfied. So you may say that I want to minimize this function while satisfying some additional constraints. That adds another layer of complexity and difficulty to the problem, which makes it all the more difficult to analyze mathematically. So there are some brute force algorithms which can solve such problems. It's not that it cannot be solved, but these brute force algorithms usually take a very long time. And a goal of computer science or algorithmic study is to develop algorithms which can solve these complex problems in as less time as possible. Genetic algorithms offers this possibility that some problems that would otherwise take too long to be solved by conventional brute force algorithms, they can be solved in a much shorter time using this concept of genetic algorithms. So genetic algorithms, as the word genetics suggests, they are inspired by evolutionary biology. So we will not get into too much details of biology, but it is important to understand some basic concepts of biological evolution in order to appreciate the concept of genetic algorithms. So essentially, as I said, again, evolution is a very complex, topic, and books and books have been written on this topic. So we will not get into all those details, but for our purpose, it is sufficient to understand that evolution essentially consists of two processes or two steps. One step is mutation, and the other step is natural selection. So in order to understand mutation and natural selection, we need to understand that living organisms are essentially comprised of what is called a cell, which is shown on the screen, and each cell has many proteins and many other stuff, but the primary information carrier, or what decides how a cell will eventually behave, is what is called as DNA sequence, and it is present in this double helical structure which you see on your screen. So essentially this mutation happens at the level of the DNA sequence, and the natural selection happens at the level of the cell. So what is mutation? Again, in very simple terms, mutation is basically a change in our DNA. This change can happen due to many reasons. The primary two reasons are that when a cell reproduces, when a cell divides into two, there can be errors in replication, or there can be errors during this process of reproduction. That is one way by which mutations can happen. The other way is that there can be changes in the DNA because of environmental factors. For example, if you expose a DNA to UV light, or if you put a cell under some kind of stressful conditions, then this DNA can undergo certain changes. Now, whether these changes are purely random or there is some kind of direction, that is still being studied by biologists all over the world. But what we know for sure is that mutations do occur in DNA, and that leads to the changes that we see. So after these mutations have occurred, there is a mechanism within the cell to do repair of these changes, or which can be considered as damages to the DNA. However, not all of these changes or damages are corrected, and some are passed on to future generations because they may have some beneficial repercussions, and that is what is called natural selection. So basically, if you have different kinds of cells from the same species which have undergone different mutations, because of those mutations, certain cells may acquire some beneficial observable traits, and this differential survival and reproduction of organisms because of differences in these observable traits, which arises as a result of mutation at the DNA level, is what is called natural selection. So basically, you have this cell which has DNA, which is its information carrier. DNA undergoes mutation due to various reasons, and then because of these mutations, there can be certain observable traits that we may be able to see in the cell, and if these traits are useful in some way, then they can be propagated further into future generations by this process called natural selection. So the objective of genetic algorithms is to be able to mimic this process of evolution in an algorithm. It is very important to understand that evolution by itself is not an algorithmic process. There are some very important differences between evolution and algorithms. However, it is still possible to learn a lot from this evolutionary process and incorporate at least some of its aspects in our algorithm so that we can solve some complex problems at a very high speed. And so one example that we all see of this biological evolution is this progression from a single cellular bacteria, which you see on your screen, to chimpanzees, which are a lot more complex than bacteria, and then these chimpanzees further evolved into humans, that is us. And all this happened by just this two-step process of mutation and natural selection. Although it's a very slow progress, although it's a very slow process, but still it can lead to infinite amount of variety in biological organisms that we see all around us. Now let's try to understand how do we mimic this process in an algorithm to some extent. Again, as I said, evolution is a very, very rich phenomena and is fundamentally different from an algorithm. But it is possible to learn certain concepts or certain aspects of this evolutionary process and incorporate that into our algorithm. Here, one point that is very important to understand, that we are talking of evolution of a population of cells, not of just a single cell. So if you just have a single cell, then its dynamics are very, very different. Here we are talking of population. How does a population of cell mutate and grow and evolve with time? So now let's see how do we incorporate this process of mutation and natural selection in an algorithm. So mutation can again be of many types, but essentially what is relevant to us is these two types of mutations, which are called crossover and point mutations. We'll see in a minute what each of these means. And natural selection is essentially governed by what is called a fitness function. So here again it is important to understand that in biological organisms, the natural selection is not necessarily governed by such a single fitness functions. There are multiple things that an organism may be trying to optimize, and it's also possible that an organism is not trying to optimize anything but is doing something fundamentally different. However, when we implement this in an algorithm, the best way or what is currently known, the best currently known approach is to choose a fitness function and try to minimize or maximize this function. So now let's see what is the meaning of crossover. So crossover essentially means that if we have two binary strings, So usually genetic algorithms is done with binary strings, and that's why I'm taking this example. So let's say you have two binary strings. You can choose a point at which you cut both these binary strings, and then you exchange the sequences on either side. So as you can see on the screen, the blue subsequence, which was a part of the first sequence, has now gone to the second sequence, and this red subsequence from the second sequence has now come to the first sequence. So this is called the process of crossover, and is actually also common in biological organisms, and it is also used in genetic algorithms to create variation in our population. Point mutations are very simple to understand. Point mutation means that you randomly select any one digit in your binary sequence and just let it undergo a flip based on some probability. So a 1 can become a 0 and a 0 can become a 1, and all this happens probabilistically, meaning through choice of random numbers. Now coming to natural selection, what you do by with a fitness function is that every time you have a process of selection, meaning that you have, let's say, one generation of your population, and when the next generation has to be created, you give a higher probability to those organisms or those cells or those sequences rather, which have a higher fitness. And that is how we model natural selection in algorithms. So you have these population of binary strings. For each binary string there is a fitness function which is defined depending on the problem that you're trying to solve. Binary strings which have a higher fitness will have a higher probability of being selected in the next round of your genetic algorithm process. We'll see an example of genetic algorithms which will make this clear, but the basic idea, as I said, is that binary strings have a well-defined fitness function, and strings which have a higher fitness end up being selected for the next generation with a higher probability. So now this genetic algorithms is essentially an iterative process, as you can see on your screen. So initially we start with a certain population of genomes. You can choose the size according to your computational resources and many other factors which vary depending on the actual problem which you are trying to solve. Once you have chosen your initial population, you then check whether your termination condition is satisfied. The termination condition can also be of many different varieties. For example, if you have a well-defined fitness function, you may say that I will terminate my code when, let's say, 90% of the binary strings have a fitness value greater than a certain threshold. So if 90% of my binary strings, which can also be called genomes in this context, if they have a value greater than a threshold, then I may stop my genetic algorithm. Or I may say that I will continue this process of evolution or iteration for many rounds. And let's say if in the last 10 rounds the average fitness does not change, the average fitness remains almost similar, then I will again terminate this process. So there can be various ways of terminating your genetic algorithm program depending on the kind of problem that you're trying to solve and the kind of accuracy that you are looking for. So now if your termination condition is satisfied, then of course you take the yes route and you stop your algorithm. But if your termination condition is not satisfied, then of course you go to the next step, which is selection. So what does selection mean? That genomes or binary strings which have a higher fitness value, they have a greater probability of being selected for the next generation. So you have many different generations in this process of genetic algorithms. So each generation is like one iteration. So in the first step you have an initial population, then in the next iteration or the next generation you have a evolved population. And how do you evolve? That you select those genomes or those binary strings which have a higher fitness value. but it is important that you do it probabilistically, because if you do it deterministically, then it is no longer a genetic algorithm and it has no connection with evolution, and then it is just a regular brute force algorithm, or what can also sometimes be called a greedy algorithm. So now you did selection of your genomes from your previous step, but as we know in evolution, mutations are also very, very important. So after selection, then you do mutation, which is essentially consisting of two steps: crossover and point mutation. So you do these two steps for your genomes, and then you again check the termination condition, that have you satisfied your condition, which can again be of various types, as I just mentioned. So now if your population satisfies your termination condition, then you stop your algorithm, but if no, then again you go to the selection step, and this process continues till you are satisfied with the result you get. So this is a very brief introduction to genetic algorithm. In the next video, we will see a particular implementation or an example of how genetic algorithms works that will perhaps make this concept much more clearer to you. Thank you.